This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
You've seen and read my 3 Pillars ebook, and now I'm proud to announce my new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship, and it's now out and ready for reading. This new book of mine is a full-length version of the teachings of the 3 Pillars, and in it I show you how to walk in the integrity of eternal universal laws, in step with the law of attraction to consistently create the life you desire. Now, if you've ever wondered just why you can't consistently manifest all the good, loving, abundant, healthy, and happy things you desire, my new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, will reveal the key in how to do just that. Plus, help you build a rock-solid personal foundation that will stand strong for the ages. Get your copy today. My new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship by Carl Gruber. Available now in ebook and paperback on Amazon.com. Hi everyone, show host Carl Gruber here. Before we head off to meet our awesome featured guests for episode number 193 of World Awakenings, new Ascension guide Danielle Kort, I'd first like to share something with you that is near and dear to my heart, my Power of 8 Healing Group. Now, this Power of 8 Healing Group is based on author and researcher Lynn McTaggart's book, The Power of 8. Lynn did thousands of hours of research and experimentation and found that when 8 or more people gather together, either live or virtually, and focus their healing intentions, thoughts, and prayers on healing a person, place, or thing, miraculous healing takes place. I love this idea, and so I started a Power of 8 group in May of 2021, and we now have over 1,900 members from around the world who meet in virtual healing sessions on a regular basis. The Power of 8 has been a true healing not only for me, but for each and every one of our members from around the world. Now, with this in mind, here is a short video that my colleague and friend Lenny Yambalis and I recorded as we discuss the merits and miracles of healing via the Power of 8. As I always say, heal yourself and the world is healed with you. Hey everybody, Carl and Eleni here from the Power of 8. We are the administrators of this beautiful group growing with almost 1,400 members from around the world. And we felt that it is very, very important that we come together and give you this message of hope and healing and love and truth, because this group is all a sacred place of healing. And as I mentioned in a little comment I did on the page a while ago, there's very, very few spaces like this Power of 8 group that you can come to where there's non-judgment, there's only unconditional love, and it's all about healing, whether it's be a person or a place or a thing. This is what we are, and we are a sacred space of healing. And I'm so blessed to have my colleague Eleni Yambalis here, and it's been the best thing that we had adding her a few months ago. And Eleni, I know you have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I thank you, Carl. Thank you for the beautiful introduction as well. I love this group, and I just want to start by saying I love this group, and being part of this group is truly an answer to my daily prayers. And anyone who attends any session with me, I say this all the time, that we get to choose the world which we see, right? We get to choose um, the world that we exist in. And every day I ask to express harmony, love, peace. And I ask to see it in the world around me. I ask to see it in my brothers and sisters. And this space is where I get to see it. In this space, I see people from all over the world showing up for each other. They don't even know each other, tithing their most precious resource, their energy, their creative powers, expecting the best for each other. You know, you get what you expect at a vibrational level. I mean, it's physics and it's spirituality. And in this place is where we get to experience that. And I love how, you know, Carl, you addressed that this is a judgment-free place. Because judgment, right? When we think of the energy of judgment, it's counter to harmonious existence, right? When we're judging each other, and I, you know, I respect that we have beliefs that we are solid in, and you know, we like to feel heard, and we like to voice those things. But this is the place of healing. This is the place of light, and not the best place for, you know, personal beliefs to really be put out there. Here we're about grounding love. We're about grounding love. And it's like the magic of Lynn McTaggart and her discoveries, right? How the participants, the people who were showing up and focusing on the well-being of another individual, they were experiencing miracles. They were experiencing turnarounds in their own lives, as well as the subject. We're literally in this space when we show up here, even when we come on here to wish each other well through typing or just saying hello and sharing our progresses and such. We're grounding that energy down for the rest of the planet. And I really feel like, you know, if we want to help people, we want to help humanity, be the vessel that pulls what is needed down, which is love, which is tolerance and kindness and healing and miracles.
And you know, Lenny, I'm so glad that you mentioned miracles, because, you know, this is a group, a place where you can come and expect miracles. You and I both say that in our daily lives, expect miracles. And people have heard me say over and over the quote from A Course in Miracles, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. And Eleni and I have both witnessed miracles of healing on this page. And I know Eleni, especially in so many aspects of her life, in her own life, she's experienced miracles. Come to this group from no matter where you are, different religion, different culture, different country, different time zone, it doesn't matter. Come to this page, expect miracles of healing.
Yes, it's like, yeah, like you get what you expect. So we expect the miracles. Miracles are normal. And I love, it's like, it's when we create a space like this, I believe that we are at a place now where there are, you were mentioning right before we got on this call, close to 1,400 of us coming together, expecting miracles, understanding the power of our ability to create and ability to ground this energy down. And we're seeing the fruition. We're seeing it happen in our participants. We're seeing cancer disappear instantly. We're seeing people waking up from comas completely like nothing happened, walking around the hospital. Doctors are baffled. Right? We get to choose what happens in our story. And in my story, each and every one of you experience the miracles that you seek. And I know that that's, you know, a big mission for everyone who chooses to be in this space, to be part of that energy, to be part of that creative process. And yeah, it's like, it's so amazing to be here, right?
Well, and I have planet Earth behind me because, as we know, planet Earth has been in constant chaos and attack and lack for the entire history of humanity. And now we see everything on TV and on the internet. But again, that's why I emphasize, come here as a place of refuge, of non-judgment and love. And Eleni and I hold that space for you. And when we come together, oh my gosh, the power of us joining together energetically, it's incredible. It really is. And it's all right here.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's like also just a bit of a feedback. It's, you know, take into consideration when we're putting these things up, you know, putting up posts about, you know, our viewpoints and such. When people read things, they have a spark of vibration that comes off of them. And if that spark of vibration is anger or frustration, if it's anything other than peace and unconditional love, that vibration has just gone out into the ethers. It's just gone out. Now it's an attracting point. Mother Earth, who's been feeling the effects of humanity for eons, right? Like she needs us to be grounding that earth, to be grounding that energy, grounding that harmony, grounding that love, like be that vessel. You're like the tube of you're like the cell phone charger cord, right? Between the power source and the phone, like the phone being the earth, like we're like pulling it down for her, pulling down this energy for everyone to access. Because when we create a stronger pull together as people, when we're putting out vibrations of love and peace and miracles, and we're in the magic of life, and we're putting those out, we make it easier for those who really need it to access. Because we flip the polarity, right? The energy coming out of us is on the higher spectrum. And so it's easier to access for those who need it.
And I just want to emphasize, the people who have joined us for healing sessions, and we've done hundreds of them in the last almost 3 years. Eleni's mode of operation and mine are very different, but the source, the healing source from unconditional love and unity for all the people of the world and Mother Earth itself is the same. The energy is here, and we thank you. Thank each and every one of you for being here, and thank you, Eleni, for being here.
Oh, thank you, Carl. I mean, none of this would be possible if you didn't get this divine inspired idea to create this group, right? And it's been my honor to be here with you. It's probably close to a year at this point. Just getting to, like, I get to bear witness to this. Like, I get to see this. I get to do this. We all get to do this, my friends. We get to do this. We get to come into this space that is just so loving. So, as the sessions continue, just come with that energy to this space. Share your joys, share your light. Because again, Mother Earth, the humanity, we all need it, and we all benefit from it.
Yeah, well said, Eleni. Everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us and watch us. We love you so much. Namaste, all of our friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, so it is.
Hey, it is time once again for me to welcome you to World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. I'm your host, Carl Gruber. Now, since 2018, this show has been bringing some of the world's top teachers, experts, and leaders in the world of spirituality, metaphysics, and enlightenment. And I am so grateful that you could join us today as we take yet another deep dive into these beautiful topics with yet another incredible guest. And by the way, not only can you watch this show on YouTube or listen to it on any possible online audio outlet, but now World Awakenings is proud to be on the brand new reality TV network. So check it out, and you can now watch this show there too. So with that, I'd like to welcome Danielle Kort to the show. Danielle is the author of the book Wild Spirit Fire, Freedom from Fear and Separation. She's also a retreat host and a new Earth Ascension guide. She began her career in the fashion industry, working with renowned brands like Calvin Klein and others. And 6 years into her fashion career, she felt a profound call to embark on a new life path. Now, since then, she's dedicated over a decade to guiding clients on their journeys of spiritual growth and self-discovery. I love that. Now, in 2017, Danielle moved to the country of Bali, where she earned her certification as an inner guidance journey work facilitator. I can't wait to find out more about that. And now she leads sacred ceremonies and transformational retreats. And finally, in 2018, she helped launch a women's empowerment movement called Women Breaking Plates, which we are looking forward to finding out more about. And with that, Danielle, welcome to World Awakenings.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
Well, like I said to you before we came on here, you're not bored, are you?
Definitely not. Definitely not. At
Oh,
one point, I decided, just it's got to be fun. Otherwise, what's the point? You know?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you really you should be smiling and laughing. Sure, we have our conflicts and issues, and but yeah, you got to laugh. And what's the old line? A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, right? So,
Totally.
I love your story of blossoming from being a depressed adolescent who contemplated suicide and hung out with all the wrong people to working at a high level in the fashion industry, and now being a spiritual transformational coach and a published author. Can you give us an idea of what your early years were like?
Sure, I'd love to. Um, you know, when I was really young, like first and second grade, I felt very expressed and like loved the world, loved people, my teachers. I wore my hair in all these different fun, different ways and different outfits. So I was good. But then I went to a new school in third grade and I had to start over. And for whatever reason, the kids kind of already had their groups, and I didn't feel like I could get in to the group. So I made up a story that said, I'm not good enough apparently. And I sort of went into this perfection model. It's so funny too because because I look back and guess what the name of the school that I had to transition to was called?
I'd love to find out.
Human.
Human elementary school?
Human elementary school. Yeah. So I had to learn what it is to be human. I
Wow.
had to, take on some of that suffering and those limiting beliefs and kind of work through that. And that's what I did, but it was hard. And I had pretty deep depression by middle school. Um, faced rejection, girls being mean, leaving me at the lunch table, a lot of, tough things. And I got really depressed, but I remember one time sitting at the kitchen counter and my parents had gone to a party and my sister was in the living room. And I remember grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter and I put it up to my wrist. I was in eighth grade. I was serious and I was kind of saying, hey, someone like, see me. I don't know what to do. My higher self came to me. Now, I didn't know who this voice was. It was the voice of an older, wiser woman. And she pretty much just talked, kind of started to gently nudge me and talk me out of it. She said, well, look at this beautiful house. And what about your family? And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, she kept going. And finally she was like, well, just to let you know, when you get older, you're going to be very pretty. And then from an eighth grade perspective, I was like, oh, okay. And I put the knife down. I was like, I guess I'll try a little bit longer. Let's see how that, might go.
Wow.
But I mean, you just have to know what to tell, what to tell a 12-year-old. And so anyway, I kept going. I went to a new school the next year. I went enrolled in a Catholic school. It was my mom's idea. She knew I was having a hard time.
Mm.
And I started over and I coped, with sort of this new attitude. My mom was like, "Oh, if you don't feel confident, you might just have to pretend to be." And that's what I did. I just pretended to, be confident, even though I had a lot of insecurity. And I started over. And I had actually a really pretty good high school experience. But I was still coping and I hadn't healed from the deeper things, the deeper traumas from earlier in childhood or even other lifetimes. And so it wasn't until I got into my, I guess, mid 20s when I really started to get onto more of a healing path.
Yeah, that's interesting. Human elementary school, but it is interesting. It sure seems that a lot of youngsters have, especially these days in the modern world, 2025, have issues like that of depression, and they don't know anything else, and they can't see beyond that, and all they see is this dark hole. Well, I think I'll just kill myself, and I guess that's a big problem. I'm not a parent, but from what I see.
Yeah, I just remember the thoughts of it just I saw the superficiality, I saw how people were, and I was like, if this is all there is, then I don't want to be a part of this. I would rather, just end it.
Wow, wow. Well, I'm glad that lady talked to you out of it. You're one of your spirit guides. Beautiful.
Yes.
So you went on from there, and you get out of high school. How did you end up in the fashion industry? You sound like you said when you were a youngster, you liked dressing up and doing things like that.
So when I was, I think, 11 years old, I got a sewing machine for birthday or Christmas, and I started to sew my own outfits. So I sewed swimsuits and dresses. I even wore a dress that I had made leftover material from a swimsuit. It was very tight, and I had got in trouble, and I was sent home But I remember being like, oh, well, I wore my first design to school. And so at 12 years old, I remember thinking, I definitely want to become a fashion designer. That's my dream, and to move to New York City. And that's what I'm going to do. And that is what I did. I went to school for fashion design in Nebraska, which had a pretty decent school, actually. And then I got to New York and yeah, started to apply. I have a whole story with that too, because the job market was pretty shit. It was what, 2009, right after the job market had crashed, and with all these young girls my age with Parsons and FIT, these top fashion schools on their resumes, I was up against pretty tough competition. But I learned about the law of attraction right at that time.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
read The Secret and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I started to manifest little things like the cups of coffee. And I went on to just start to, introduce people like I am a fashion designer. And then if they ask more questions, I would just like bolt, like at clubs or something. But I would just tell the story basically. And it took about like 8 months or something before I finally got my first offer. And I did it through law of attraction. I visualized and
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think I had read that you had, like many of us, been a fan and a listener of Abraham Hicks, which is still the icon of the law of attraction. And Esther Hicks is still out there. I think
yeah.
I just got an email this morning from her that she's doing a speaking engagement in LA this weekend. But yeah, that's great from Nebraska to New York City. Wow, that was a big shift. But then you get into the fashion industry, and from what I saw, you were killing yourself with work in the fashion industry for very little reward. What was the biggest moment or experience that made you make the shift to find your creative, loving higher self?
Mm. Yeah, I just remember sitting on, so I had used the law of attraction to get this job. I remember, I wrote down, I want to work for one of the most well-known brands in America. And all these things that I wanted, I wrote it down and I manifested it. So I got this job at Calvin Klein. I got this Soho studio apartment, which no one thought I could have my own studio for the budget of a fashion designer was like pretty crazy. But I did. I manifested it. And I manifested all these things, getting behind the red ropes at the clubs. And I would just, get all these things. But then I remember sitting on my bed in my Soho apartment and just wondering why I wasn't more happy. And I was like, what is this? And this is my American dream. This is my version of the American dream. It's not, I don't feel like something is missing. And I remember reading a Deepak Chopra book, and he talked about the difference between sort of like fleeting happiness and soul fulfillment. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I want soul fulfillment. So all the things that I thought I wanted were more of these personality or ego desires, things that and not all, because definitely the fashion and that was a part of my creativity and my soul's calling, but it was mixed with these muddied intentions, if you will. So for instance, like, the part of the reason I wanted to get the job at Calvin Klein was to get my dad's attention because I didn't feel like I got enough attention or love when I was younger. I made up a story. And so, trying to get these things, it causes the reflection or the manifestation to be sort of flat or not that deeper fulfillment, which we get when we tune in and ask, the larger part of us, what do I really want? And so that's the journey I went on next was, okay, I surrender. I don't actually know what it is I truly want. What do we want? Because my higher self it can see the full puzzle, if you will. And so, she can guide me. And that's what I started to do. I met a woman named Gabrielle Bernstein in New York and sort of read one of her books and followed that path to tuning into your inner guidance and following that path. And then I started to manifest things that really were so fulfilling.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up the topic of law of attraction. As I told you earlier, I am myself a certified law of attraction life coach for the last, I don't know, 13, 14 years. And nowadays, so many people go, oh, law of attraction, that's so passe, there's millions of books on it. But you can't get around it. It's a universal law that is never turned off like gravity. But, I'm sure you have met clients and I've met my clients who, oh, this stuff doesn't work. I mean, you can sit down and make a list of what you desire and get nothing. What was the difference? Do you have to uh, put your full passion and energetic power into those and believe in advance that they work? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I would say like your highest excitement and passion is very much interwoven with that higher guidance, what your soul is wanting for you to explore and express. So for me though, it was tuning into getting quiet, quieting the mind, quieting the thoughts, and really being able to receive thought. So not producing thought, but tuning in to receive that higher thought from the higher mind, from the higher self, and then following that those breadcrumbs. But those breadcrumbs are, yes, going to be leading you to embrace your passions and do what you really want to do. And so many of us have limitations around that. Well, I can't make money and all these things, so they don't even try even on the side. But we're always going to be steered, from this higher plane, or if you will, to go in the direction of what really turns us on and lights us up. So yeah.
I think one of the interesting things that I've learned, and being a student of A Course in Miracles, they even discuss this in there. You can pray or intend these things that you want, but the universe or source doesn't hear the words they hear. It hears the desires, intentions of your heart. That's where it really, so if you're saying, I want this, on the surface, but your heart is saying something different, well, then you're in conflict and you won't receive these things that you write down. That is an important thing to remember.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. Following your heart's definitely all part of it. Exactly. And, I wouldn't have guessed that I would be guided to become an author and do some of the things I've done. So it really wasn't a thought that I just, had, like, oh, that's a great idea and blah, blah. And let me do a pros and cons list. It's nothing to do with the mind. It's really, truly us surrendering to that higher guidance. But then once I start doing it, like the retreats, these things, these came as, like confirmation, like do this next. And then I do it and it works. Like it's amazing when you follow the guidance because all the stars are aligned for that next thing. And then it's like feather touches, boom, boom. And then it just everything unfolds. You're like, oh my God, with such ease. Wow.
Yeah, and I think if there's some listeners or viewers out there who are trying to manifest something they want and they're not getting it, look to your heart. See what is your really deepest desire that you really have to might dig a little bit and get quiet and do meditation. But I'm still really interested. So you get out of the fashion industry in New York City and in your Soho apartment, and I read that in 2017 you moved to Bali.
I did.
Wow, why Bali and yeah, why?
Well, at the time, I was developing an online program with a friend, and I was living in Montreal, Canada, of all places, for a
Beautiful.
little bit. And then it started to snow, and it snowed a lot and a lot, and it got cold. And so her and I were like, we got to get out of here. Where should we go? We're like, we should go somewhere cheap and warm because we're going to build this online. It doesn't matter. So we
Yeah.
thought maybe Thailand, but then she was following this woman named Christina Ra. And this woman was showing Ubud Bali as this spiritual hub for yoga, meditation, and these raw vegan restaurants, like world class raw vegan cafes. And her and I just looked at each other like, that sounds like heaven. So we booked our flights the next day, and then I was off the next month, right after Christmas, heading to Bali.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. I've never been there, but I heard this that Bali is kind of a spiritual vortex,
Yes.
and almost like places like Sedona, Arizona, or Mount Shasta in California, that
Right.
type of thing. Wow. So the other thing that I'm really interested in, because I've had many guests on talk about, I read that at some point you got into plant medicines. How did this help in becoming who you are now?
Good question. Well, I, was guided to move out of the fashion industry and to become a life coach because I wanted to help people manifest their true desires. So that's how I got out of that industry and created my own practice. But after that year-long coach training program I did, then I discovered plant medicines. And it was a fascinating thing because I was actually signed up to do two leadership programs that year, one through the program I had gone through, accomplishment coaching, and the other one was through a company called Landmark.
Mhm.
But I did my first plant medicine ceremony, and in that ceremony, my channel opened, my higher self came through, my guides, if you will. I'm not. Sometimes you don't always know this, just how to distinguish the voices, but I just knew it was higher guidance saying, "You don't need those leadership programs. You already are a leader. Just go be it. You're going to remember from within." So I actually quit those leadership programs that I was signed up for, and everyone thought I was crazy and upper limiting and all this stuff. It was wild. But I knew, like, I mean, I was questioning a little bit, but I mostly knew. I was like, no, this is my path. And then all those weekends I would have gone to those other trainings, I actually went to these plant medicine ceremonies. And what they did for me was open me up to my deepest authenticity and remembering from within me what leadership really is, which now I understand I'm here to model and teach about new earth leadership, which looks a lot different than our 3D leadership. For instance, it's more like round table. It's not like one person's the leader and everyone's trying to be like this perfect model of this leader. It's just, there's kind of these old paradigms, and these are things that I'm here to break out of and, you know, model basically.
Well, I've never had the opportunity to do a plant medicine. I would absolutely love it because I have friends in Costa Rica that do that. And so the first time you did it, was it in a ceremonial situation? Because I understand that that's the best way to do it, have a shaman as a guide so that you don't go down the wrong path and misuse it, right?
Yeah, yeah, only ceremonial. And I've honestly not worked with and I call them medicines because when you work with them that way, I mean, they really are designed for that. Now, people use them to escape their reality and use them in these addictive ways, but it's a consciousness, all of these plant medicines. And so if you're using and abusing a person, they're not going to be respecting you back so much. They're not going to give you the gold, right? Those amazing downloads, the amazing transformation. But when you work with the plant medicines in this sacred, ceremonial, respectful way, it's incredible what can happen, especially with like a specific intention. And so, yeah, my very first time was in a very ceremonial setting, different than what you might hear about with like ayahuasca, the traditional tea form where when you lay down on a mat, you go inwards. The way I learned was actually in a very social setting where everyone's given different medicines depending on your intention. And then it's just a free flow from there. And you can work out things in real time. So if you get triggered, because two people are talking and you feel left out, like you're trying to like get in the conversation, you now have the support from this plant medicine to work through that trauma and hold yourself through it and work through it. So it's a different way of, journeying, but it was really, really cool. I felt like I was part of this amazing, I don't know how to say it, the beginnings of something really amazing in New York is where I was doing it.
So would you say that the way a plant medicine works, it helps remove the veil of the ego and remove the monkey mind and allow your higher self to come in?
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing that happens. A lot can happen. But yeah, absolutely it can help with that.
And you did that in New York. I mean, almost everybody here say, "Oh, you got to go to Peru, you got to go to Costa Rica to do it."
Yeah, I mean, when like for instance, if you're gonna go do ayahuasca, and I haven't gone. My mom actually went, but you can go and be on the land of where those ancestors have done so many ceremonies. So it's very special to do that, but you don't have to.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Well, we are speaking to the most amazing Danielle Kort, and I am really interested in your book, Wild Spirit Fire. How did it come about that you wrote it, and why that title?
Well, how it came about was after the plant medicine started to open me up, I started to channel write. So I would sit in a cafe and just, write, and kind of bring these downloads through. And at the time I thought I'm writing a book, but, then I looked through and I'm like, well, these are just a bunch of notes and that's fine. But I just had a feeling I would eventually write a book. And then it was, gosh, maybe 10 years later, actually, it took some time because I don't know, I did a reading with someone and they said, yeah, the timing's not now, it'll come. So then I got a message on LinkedIn from someone who was wondering if I was ever considering writing a book. He's a mentor for spiritual authors. And so I actually hired him and he helped me write this book. Well, the first year I spent trying to write it from my own personal stories and what I've gone through and the wisdom I've gleaned from those experiences. But I ran up against so much perfection that I was just like, this is never going to happen. It was supposed to happen in 6 months. Then a year goes by. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's going to, so it felt like I gave up, but I didn't give up. I just really surrendered. I was like, I surrender this whole process. I don't know what to do. And at the time I worked with rape to clear my energy, rape or hape. It's an Amazonian snuff that has tobacco and other herbs that you basically um, blow up your nose. It's like dirt. It looks like dirt, but it's these herbs. You blow it up your nose and it clears your pineal gland, it clears your energy. And the indigenous people use it to hunt at night it helps their vision. So one night I did my little clearing and all these messages started to come through and just auditorily. So I tried to write them down and afterwards, but there was too many to remember. So I decided to record my voice on the next one. And after that, I just realized, oh my goodness, like a whole half-hour message came through it. I actually turned that first channeling into a video, which is on my YouTube channel. But after that, I was like, I could actually probably channel the book like this. And so I talked to my mentor and he helped me channel through a whole new set of chapters. And then from there, I just kind of filled in the buckets with each of these channeled messages.
Wow, what an interesting writing process. I would like, you talk about rape, which has tobacco among other herbs. A long time ago, I had Carrie Hummingbird on, and she's actually a certified shaman. She studied with the shamans in Peru, and she I've watched her do an entire ceremony because tobacco used in a ceremonial, spiritual way is actually quite a spiritual enhancer. And the reason, people die from it is they misuse it. If you misuse tobacco and not in that way, but rape, wow, very interesting. That is something else. And let's talk more about this channeling. I think I read that you had been doing automatic writing, but now you actually have your spirit guides or whatever coming right through, and you can hear them and you write.
Yeah, so I kind of switched from the automatic writing to then just channeling through the voice, so voice channeling, and then I'll just record it and then I'll transcribe it, and that's how I turned it into the book.
So you actually, I just had, I've had a number of channels on this show. I mean, is that something that you are now doing in public, or is that just for your writing?
So far for the writing, yeah.
Okay. Well, it may not be something that everybody wants to do in public, and it sure works for you. So, but yeah, if you never know, things may switch, and there may
Yes.
be a time when you want to do that. So
Yes.
let's go back to, and I'm always interested in this, being we're both life coaches. What are typical type of problems and issues that you now work with clients that need help with?
Let me tune in, think about that. I'll get a lot of clients who they really just can't see themselves. I see them, and so many of us can see our friends and family like, you're amazing. And so, but they can't. And so a lot of the work we'll do is really helping them, yeah, recognize their talents, their gifts, and just their presence, like who they are and what they do for people. Um, yeah, I get a lot of angelic, kind of clients who are just such beautiful hearts, but they don't have boundaries and they just keep giving, giving, giving all the time. And the self-worth, I think, is a little bit lower and they don't put themselves in the equation. And so I tell some of these people, I think it's because you've been an angelic guide and now you're here in this physical, human body. And you're like, wait, I'm a part of the equation. It's not just all about everyone else and helping. Like, I'm here too. And so it's a funny, position to be in, but they get it and they resonate with them.
Yeah, many people that I work with, and I mean, unfortunately, it's almost a universal quality, is a lack of self-worth, that they don't believe they're worthy of having their greatest dreams and highest aspirations. And that's beautiful that you work with people on that. And sometimes it's not a instantaneous click. I'm going to do it. You have to work with them and peel those layers of the onion off. Well, that's great. I mean, it is interesting when you work with a person that comes to you for help on that. But I think people do that in their daily lives. We end up talking to friends. Hey, hi, can I meet you for coffee? I need to talk over. Everybody's a life coach in some form or way, shape, or form with family or
Sure.
friends. But
Right.
but yeah, that's pretty interesting. But I want to go back one more time to well, actually, you now lead retreats, and since you lived in Bali, I see that you are now taking people for retreats to Bali. I think you have one coming up this year.
Yeah, that's correct. I do. The next one coming up is April 24th through the 30th of this year. And it's going to be amazing. These are bespoke experiences. So it's a nice intimate group. It's at a five-star hotel, and we're taken so care of by this beautiful staff. The Balinese people are such beautiful people. I mean, talk about just amazing service. They're just there to serve, and but they do it with such love. There's no like resentment or I don't know some of the stuff you can get with that. It's just beautiful.
So is this retreat in Bali? Is it women only or men welcome?
It's men and women. Yep. It's men and women. So our first one last year was just the one token guy, and it was great. It all flowed because it's just such a flowy, beautiful experience. But this year we've got a nice mix so far, but we still have some space left.
Yeah, and I'll put a link into the show notes for your website where people can go and sign up on that. That sounds awesome. Another thing that too I learned about that is you love to talk about unity consciousness, and I know that's a big part of what you teach. What is unity consciousness?
Unity consciousness is this higher level of consciousness where we truly not just remember and know in a cognitive way, but like we embody that we are all, one at the highest level. We are all connected, and we are coming out of more of the separation based consciousness, this belief that I'm separate from others, I'm separate from God, from nature, and it really causes us to feel so alone. And if you don't understand and remember and embody that beautiful connectedness, interconnectivity, it's just a harsh reality. So, and then we go into in the book coming out of the third dimension and moving into the fifth dimension. That's sort of the goal. At least I know for myself as an ascension guide to help move humanity into this higher dimension. And from there you can keep going. But unity consciousness, from my understanding, is that once you reach the fifth dimension, you're more, in that belief and understanding and embodying that.
Well, I have many, many, many guests on here who speak to this topic of the transformation of humankind into the fifth and sixth dimension. And I think that, let's say you watch the daily news, which I never do. I don't have a TV, or you go on social media, unfortunately, which I do. And you see all the chaos in the world, and the craziness in America, and not just America, but every country in the world. And you say, "Hey, dude, this is a unity conscious time in the world," and they go, "What?" So this is why you do what you do and what I do, and anything that we can to help people awaken to this unity conscious. I think it's a beautiful picture, and we're already seeing the results of it.
Yeah, and everything exists all at once. And so, supposedly New Earth, this higher dimensional version, let's say Gaia, Sophia, some people have names for this new place that we're ascending into. It already exists and we're building it all at the same time. Sometimes it's hard to wrap our mind around that. But as we tune our frequency, raise our consciousness, our vibration, we're able to tune into that reality and also co-create it simultaneously. So it's just good to know that, it already exists and we're moving into it. But again, it's an individual process, while it's also this is a collective awakening process. So it's yeah, it's all the paradoxes, right, start to become more obvious when you come into the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension is where we start to really work through those paradoxes, and instead of having one opposite from the other in conflict, we're able to open to all of it and be okay with and allow all of it to exist. And then at some point, you kind of like merge that, you come into the fifth dimension, and it's not, there's no more conflict. That duality isn't, a conflict inside of you.
I love how you explain that because it is something that is so needed in this world. And you may have friends like this. I mean, and people in my personal circle are not necessarily what I'm into. The New Earth, which is fine. I love them, and I don't. But if I ever say, "Hey, we're going into the 5D," and they go, "Huh?" Oh, what is that? Well, yeah, well, we're going to kind of just lay our body down beside and go from carbon to crystalline. They go,
Exactly.
what are you talking? I go,
What
watch
are you talking
my
about?
podcast. All right.
Yeah, exactly. There's so
But
many ways to explain it, but yeah.
last thing I would, and I've encountered this, and I know you have, going back to clients that we work with, I have encountered a number of people who are very empathetic, who are empaths. And one of the big problems that empaths have is they absorb other people's negative energy. I have a friend that has been empathetic his whole life, and he says at the end of the day, he gets home, all he can do is get to the couch and go, oh, like that, because he's carried all of those negative energies and absorbed them. And I think as an empath, you can be compassionate and talk and help people, but you don't have to absorb
Love
those
it.
other people's disempowering energies.
Right, totally. Knowing how to use the gift, right? So when you first start to realize you're an empath, maybe that might be the tendency is absorbing it. I mean, I've looked at it like in other lifetimes, sometimes as healers, we thought we had to kind of suck the energy out of others, take it through our system, and then let it go. But sometimes some of the energy would stay in you. And that's what I'm learning now, and I've been learning over the years, is no, don't even take it through your system. We're just, we're here to like hold space for people, but keep
Mhm.
our own in our own space, if you make in your own field, and then hold space from, you know, yeah, not absorb, but definitely not taking it on.
Well, and just one last question about your retreat in Bali. Is that the type of thing you work on, or are you doing meditations and exactly helping people work through these things?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We do all sorts of things. We go see the high priestess of Ubud, which she does a water purification ceremony. She'll like drench you in water. The second time I did it, my whole body turned to fire. I mean, it
Oh,
was so intense, but it was burning off all the impurities, all the energies that no longer served me. So that's just like one thing. We're doing all sorts of things like that. We do light language activation circles. We
wow.
do, breath work, yoga, embodied movement journeys, cacao ceremonies. We do a lot of different things. And I bring on a lot of different facilitators, which is actually kind of unique because some retreat hosts just do it all themselves, and I actually don't know how they do that. But I like to bring a whole group of different incredible facilitators to come teach different things. It's their craft, each of them. So it's like the best.
That
I
that
love it.
sounds amazing, and you doing all those things. I had cacao for the first time a few months ago, and it's wonderful. I'm a big coffee drinker, but instead of that, instead of coffee, I just had that, and it's way more tasty.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's just so beautiful to open the heart and
Yeah.
connect with others. Yeah, it's a beautiful medicine.
Well, one other thing that I am fascinated by this, I'd love if you could tell us about this group that you helped found in 2018 called Women Breaking Plates. I love that name. What was that all about?
Sure. It was actually my friend's creation, Aria, and she actually had this cool vision come through when she was having some kind of seizures, and trying to remember like the name, but basically her guides told her, when the seizure comes on, visualize yourself breaking a plate or some kind of chinaware. And she did, and she was able to heal herself from these seizures that came on. So that was really cool. And then she realized that a lot of people could use being able to break the tension within their system by breaking plates. then a friend told, had this idea for her to just bring on the women to kind of let it out. And from there, she created her first event in Denver. And then I helped her bring it to LA and bring in the media and get it covered and bring it to its next level, which was kind of amazing with all the intention that we put well, what I should say is I should explain that we had dinner plates, and they could write the participants could write down their limitations onto the dinner plates, what they wanted to let go of, and then smash it against the wall and watch it shatter. But we also had 12 stations in all, so there was another one where you could punch out your, negative self-talk with a punching sorry, with a boxing coach.
Yeah.
And there was another one with this like flash paper. You could write it down and burn it. And so there were 6 stations where you could let go of what you wanted to let go of, and then there were 6 stations where you could bring in the new energy with like oracle readings and Reiki, energy healings and stuff like that. So it was 100-person women party. We called it empowerment parties.
Wow.
And it was
With a
so
lot
fun.
of broken plates.
And a lot of cleaning up. Oh yeah. I remember the second one we did, we were all kind of in tears. We're like, okay, this might be the last night.
Oh my! I could
It was
see
worth it.
a TV report in LA, and people are watching, and all these women are just breaking plates.
Breaking these plates. Yep.
That's a very cool idea that you can use a plate as a symbol of your limiting paradigm and release it. But you're exactly right. You can, or boxing, hitting a punching bag or boxing. I use throughout my adulthood is running and running. And I go out instead of wearing earbuds if I'm angry or something, and instead of punching somebody, I go out or I'm stressed, I go out and burn it off that way, and it always works. I come back more even keeled and everything. Wow. And did you see a lot of women have breakthroughs just by doing that? A ceremony?
Oh yeah.
Wait,
The look on their face after was really beautiful. They looked really, yeah, satisfied for sure. But yeah, you could feel it. Yeah. Just sort of that sense, we wanted to give them a sense of take your power back. What are you going to do about that? That's okay that you have that, but just, you can say no more. You have the power to do that.
and I love that you just pointed out, take back your power. Even myself, sometimes I go through my day and I realize that somehow, some way, I gave away the essence, my life essence, my power. And then you can actually sit down and call it back and talk to the universe. I call
Right.
back all of my life force, no matter where it's scattered, back to me, and feel it just come back to you. Because yes,
Right.
we are that powerful, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's amazing what you can do through intention, through affirmation, when you really feel it. Yeah. When you believe it.
Wow.
Hmm.
I tell you, I still go all the way back from the beginning of this. I love your story about using the law of attraction to manifest the success in the fashion industry in New York. This little girl from Lincoln, Nebraska went out to New York. I love it. So, wow. Danielle, you are amazing. I love everything you
Thank
do. I'm
you.
so grateful to have you here. What is the best way for people to connect with you, to find out more about you? What's your website, etc.?
Sure. So my website's daniellekort.com, and maybe you could add that in the footnotes of the
Oh,
video.
absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And then to find out about the retreat, it's going to be daniellekort.com// Bali Bliss Retreat. And then there's a freebie, a free orgasmic bliss meditation on my website. So if you just go to that first page, you'll find that, and you can get that for free.
Ooh, that sounds interesting already. Oh my gosh. One last thing, any possibility of more books in the works?
There will be more, but I don't know the timing of it yet. But I know there will be.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like you just kind of allowed it to happen. And maybe next time you come back on the show, you can speak light language for us. I've had a
Right?
number
That
of
would be
guests on
cool.
here doing light language, which is really different.
It is very different. Yeah, it's always a fun delight to show other people who's never heard it and show them a video of someone doing it or doing it myself, and they're like, "Wow, okay."
Yeah,
That's what that is.
ask you to do that because it's really
Okay.
interesting to hear people do it. Well, Danielle Kort, thank you for being on World Awakenings. I'm so grateful you are doing amazing, loving things for your fellow humans and for the world.
Thank you so much. It was such a joy to be on here.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.